Hello and welcome to UK Horror Scene. I am Tony and this is the crew. Brilliant, fantastic. We are in the room as usual, hanging with someone else who's very, very talented, here to talk about their work and their talent and how absolutely brilliant they are. To talk about their film Mindless, we have Katie Bonham. So, ladies and gentlemen, creatures of the night, let's welcome her in. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Bonham. Right, we'll go straight in. We won't make you wait too long.
Good. No messing.
Yeah, I know you've done a few films, but we'll start with Mindless because that's your latest one. That's doing the festival circuit at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about that.
Mindless is my fourth short, and it stars the wonderful Nicholas Vince. And the idea actually came from, I used to work in a care home through uni and kind of deal with different mental health issues with the elderly. And the idea kind of came from that, and I kind of adapted a script before that called Keepsake. I tried to do a Kickstarter for Keepsake and that didn't work. So I kind of adapted an idea that I had in that and kind of drew out all the kind of organic elements and put it into Mindless and called Nick and asked him to star in it. So it's set around a middle-aged man who is suffering with some kind of mental disability, and he has carers come in day after day, and every day they come in, the house is like in disarray, it's like torn apart, and basically you're not sure if it's his cry for help or whether there is, as he claims, something else in the house. Yeah. So yeah, is it kind of a byproduct of his illness or something else?
I imagine he quite enjoyed playing that role because it's probably quite different to what he's done before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I really drew out his acting abilities in it. I mean, obviously he's a, an icon, from Hellraiser and Nightbreed and everything, but that was a lot of makeup and kind of, minimal kind of focus on him, whereas at least in Mindless it kind of really drew out what he can kind of achieve and, what he can bring to each role. So it was just great kind of working through that with him. And there were some tears on set because it's pretty intense at times. So it's quite
an intense piece actually, and I think again probably the nice thing for him is that he's so integrated into the horror genre with his films and some cult films and well-known films, to play that kind of role, which is more of a drama. It's a very straight dramatic role at first anyway.
Yeah.
It's a very straight dramatic role even though you're not quite sure, and there's a nice sense of unease which runs through a lot of your films. You're never quite at ease watching them. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. I mean, they're good, but you're always kind of on edge, wondering what's going to happen or which way the story's going to take you. Way back to, is it Paper Round?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you're never quite sure which way you're going to spin with it. So it's quite nice watching him because I've seen him in a couple of other films.
Yeah.
Playing that kind of role, which is pretty much a dramatic role. It's very straight. It's very kind of really digging into his acting abilities.
Yeah, definitely. He really had to push himself, and we did a lot of talking on set, and we really kind of worked on his character. And I'm not kind of one of these directors, but will be really strict. We kind of worked through it and said, well, how do you feel? How do you think he would react, and all this kind of thing. So we did improvise some of it as well. But yeah, that's how I like to work. So get the best performance you can, really.
And the reaction to it's been very strong as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it did really well at Fright Fest in Glasgow. That was the second year I'd got a world premiere there, so that was amazing. And yeah, I got a lot of good feedback. I think the best feedback for me was my friend. Well, this is my friend, so probably he's going to say it's good. But he came up to me afterwards, and he's actually got a mother that's in a care home, and he just we talked about that a lot afterwards, and he said how much it touched him, and how much he could really engage with it, and how that.
Well, I think the fact that it does feel real, and I'm sure a lot of people watching that, whether they've worked in care homes or whether they've got family who are in care homes or going through similar experiences. I think that's what makes it very that creates that unease and creates that tension, is that it feels very, very real, and a lot of people can really recognise. A lot of people can recognise the elements in there and what's going through it, because they think, oh yeah, that's just that mind's gone and they're not quite there. And
that's why I like making psychological horrors, because it's something that everyone can relate to, and I think for all of us, kind of the fear of getting old, who's going to look after me? Who can I trust to look after me as well? If you don't have family around you, it is care workers or kind people, and you're really putting a lot of trust in people if you're a vulnerable adult. And the other element as well is for that kind of situation, where does respect lie? because at the end of the day, regardless of what someone's done or who they are or, you know, how they act out, the respect that they should have as a vulnerable adult, you know, that goes without saying. So I think that's an interesting idea as well through it that I was kind of trying to pull out, you know.
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people watching that film will probably reconsider going into care work.
Yeah.
We scared them off.
Yeah, I did it for 7 years. Yeah. It's a tough job. Gee, yeah, I did it all. Like, I did it through half end of school, and then I did it all through uni. But yeah, it's tough.
It's
really,
a very hard
tough.
job.
Yeah.
I don't think people can appreciate quite how much goes into it. It's not just the work; it's the emotional side of it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, they become part of your family because you're spending, you know, 5-6 days a week with them, and you know, obviously they have their family, but family visits were usually like once a week, and it's just like for an hour, so it was like really quick. So you become part of their family, you get to know their characteristics, what they like to do, you know, and you just kind of, you know, become more than just, you know, an employee. You just become part of their lives. So it's really important that, you know, that's done to the best ability. So it's just kind of, yeah, some ideas I drew out of working there.
So from care work to psychological horror filmmaking.
That obvious gap.
Yeah. So many people have followed that path.
Yeah, there's loads of us. Well, I went to uni and I did film theory at uni because originally I wanted to be a film academic and write all about films, and you know, and then I was halfway through that and realised that maybe I didn't want to do that because I love film and it was great reading film, and I don't think it ever did me any harm or anything, you know. I can actually read films really well now, but I realised I kind of wanted to make films. So I got a job at Shepperton Studios, which is where I work now, for a camera house. So I get great access to cameras, guys.
Antoine.
Antoine,
French cameraman.
Free cameras. Yeah. So I started dabbling at weekends, writing scripts, and I wrote Doll first, and then took a camera home, shot it in my mum's garden, and yeah, the rest was history. So yeah, that's kind of where that leap came from. As you do.
Doll is your next project, is it?
No, Doll was my first project. Yeah, sorry,
okay.
yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, that I shot. Yeah.
I've not seen Doll, I don't think.
I think it's online somewhere. Yeah, I think it's on Vimeo.
I've seen a couple. I've seen the paper round, which I really liked, and again, that was another one you know something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And again, it's set in a very kind of basic.
And again,
setting.
I did a paper round.
Oh,
see,
God,
see
she's
what's
going
going
to kill so many careers.
Every job I go through. Next one, I'll do one about like a camera house. And like, well, the camera's coming along.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. Someone's going to steal that idea now.
Yeah. Oh no! Quick, turn it off.
It's not to make it. The paper round. So that was actually based.
Yeah, I did a paper round. Yeah, I did a paper round when I was like 15, 16. And just those kind of early mornings, especially in winter as well, you know, like 6 a.m, it's pitch black and you're kind of, you're doing a delivery service obviously, but I kind of like the idea of that momentary connection with delivering a paper, going up to someone's house, kind of invading their space, delivering a paper for that split second, and you kind of got into people's routines and worked out what everyone was doing, because obviously you're there every day, you know, every day. And I just kind of like the idea of kind of having that interaction and what that could mean. So, yeah.
So work colleagues now will be thinking.
Oh yeah, I'll get into work tomorrow and get thrown out that way.
And another one of yours I saw, which was, was this the Porcelain Ground? Yeah. Was that made with the intention to go onto a feature?
The Porcelain Ground was actually the Shortcuts to Hell competition, where you had to do, not a trailer as such, but a short in its own right of a feature idea that you had. And I got through to the final 9, I think, which was pretty cool. Yeah. But I'd actually written the feature before I made the short. So I thought, great, I'm like miles ahead of anyone, you know, I'm going to smash this. But actually trying to condense 90 pages into 3 minutes was maybe a little bit harder than just trying to kind of put something together off just an idea. But yeah, so I made the Porcelain Ground, and then we got through to the final 9. I pitched it and everything, but there were some concerns over a taxidermy house, so and how much that would cost. So it didn't go through. I was like, it'll be fine, we'll work it out. But no, they were a bit worried about the amount of money that would cost. But yeah, that was my second. It's my second, and now we're at Mindless. So.
Yeah, it's strange. So you didn't actually work with dolls or anything, or?
Pardon?
You didn't work with dolls?
No, I didn't work with any dolls. No. That was just literally off the cuff. Yeah.
But it's a good. I really enjoyed that. I've enjoyed all of them, and it's always a relief when I like the films of the guests coming on the show.
I'm relieved as well.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a very short interview.
It's really awkward.
I hate them. No. yeah.
Sucked, but well done for making it. And
Oh, thanks.
yeah, no, but I enjoyed the Porcelain Ground, and I want to see the feature because I want to know what you're going to do with that. And again, it's just with all of them, there's that real sense you're just kind of sitting there and like you're watching that, and it's not a bad thing, but you feel really uneasy watching it because you're not quite sure what's happening or where it's going to go, and it keeps you glued to the screen. So I mean, do you plan to go back to your 90-page script and put the 88 pages back in?
No, I mean, do you know what? I haven't read it since either. So it's about a year and a half ago now. I haven't read it since. I mean, I've just been making obviously a lot of short films. But I'm actually working on a feature at the moment that I'm kind of redrafting because I'm going to Cannes in 2 weeks with Mindless. Cool. So I'm going to go over there and hang out and network and all that jazz. But yeah, I'm working on a feature at the moment. I'm trying to get funding for it. And it's kind of along the same lines because a lot of my films, like you said, have got a lot of drama in them, but I really love social realism and horror, so I always try and mash those together. But this one is social realism meets fantasy horror, which sounds like it might not work, but it does work, trust me. So I'm working on that.
She does look trustworthy, doesn't she?
I have that trustworthy look, right? Yeah. So I'm working on that feature at the moment, and we've actually already got a location in Norway secured for the fantasy world. So it'll be 2 weeks in Norway and a week in Kent, because I always shoot my films in my hometown as well. It's just my thing that I do. So I know where everything is, it's just easier than going somewhere else in England. So yeah, so I'm working on that at the moment, and yeah, we've got the poster being designed at the moment.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on.
Does that have a title? Or are you keeping the title secret?
I can't say anything else about it.
Right, you can tell us when we stop filming.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Nice. But yeah, that's. But I have actually just written another short as well, so I might do that. I might do that as well. Well, I kind of thought that to show that I can actually combine the two genres of social realism and fantasy horror, that maybe I should do a short as well on the side to kind of be like, this is the idea, this is how it works. And, I can do this.
More for you?
Now let me do the feature. Somebody see this and maybe give me some money for the feature. So.
And where's the idea come from that to blend those two genres? Is it just two genres you really like?
It's what I always.
Two things you really like.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mike Leigh. I'm a massive Mike Leigh fan. Andrew Arnold, Clea Bernard. I love social realism a lot, but I always feel like reality is more horrific than anything you can create, like with Mindless and the paper round and everything, but it's kind of concentrating on those very real moments and those very real emotions and how humanity reacts to things, rather than a lot of poltergeist and kind of slashes and that kind of thing. I want to make stuff that people can really relate to and at the same time kind of cry to, but be really scared at the same time. So the feature is a mashup of both. So it's about this very real girl going through a lot of crap, and she kind of gets transported into this fantasy horror world. And I like the idea that they're both as bad as each other. It's not like, I'm in a fantasy world, this is awesome, I want to stay here, like escapism and all this. It's no, actually they're both really shit. And I kind of like that idea.
That's a recurring theme. I mean, not so much with the Porcelain Ground, but especially with the paper round. They both sound the same, don't they? Paper round, the Porcelain Ground.
I know, it's
like
confusing.
A poem. Which one is it? Theme. Everything should end with "ound."
Yeah, I should do that. Yeah, I'll bear that in mind.
It could be like a theme. That can be that girl. Katie Bonham does it. If you put them all together, it makes a poem. If you do them all, you could actually think about it. You could actually have a poem. If you read all your films in order, it could be one massive poem.
That would be perfect. Yeah, and I'd remember all the titles there.
Yeah, brilliant.
That. Yeah, rename
Turn it into a song. Sell it for charity. Make some money for you. Or you could do the song, get someone to record it. All the fun's going to pay for your feature.
Crossword or something. A filmmaker's crossword. That'd be awesome.
The ideas just keep on flowing. I can't even remember where we were now. But a feature. But yeah, I was going to say that's a recurring theme that almost trapped in your mind. That it's almost trapped in this nightmare. So this kind of dream world or this kind of other world with Mindless and with the paper round, it's like they're trapped in this nightmare, or are they? Or you're not quite sure. It can be left open or ambiguous that you're not quite sure whether it's in their minds or whether it is actually
happening.
real. And I quite like that. Again, it goes that sense of unease because it's so real and it feels like.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing about it, because audiences can take away what they want and kind of decide what they want. I don't want to be one of these directors that's like, this is what you should think and feel. This is what happens at the end, kind of thing. I think if people leave the cinema or Vimeo or whatever, that they kind of, that it affects them and they feel uneasy, I think that's my job done, really. Yeah.
Great. And who would you say would be your inspirations. I mean, were you a genre fan growing up?
Yes, I was massive. The first horror film I ever watched was Scream, and I was 8, and I will never forget that. I petrified, completely petrified. But I loved it at the same time, and I couldn't really work out why. And yeah, I love a lot of 80s horror as well. I love John Carpenter, but yeah, Wes Craven's, yeah, I love him a lot. It's weird because I don't really make slasher films or anything, but I have a lot of appreciation for those kind of films. But especially with Scream, because it was so, you know, self-aware and everything, and it was written so well, and all the characters were really, really great in it, and, you know, quite realistic and everything. But yeah, I like a lot of 80s slashers. I think more recently, yeah, I mean, like Jennifer Kent and, you know, Jennifer Lynch, and, you know, much more prolific kind of horror film directors that, you know, female horror film directors that are coming out now. And I can never pronounce her name properly because I'm terrible, but the director of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, absolutely love her.
Do you want to have a go at pronouncing her name?
It's Anna Lily. Oh God, I can't even know. I can't do it because I'm going to say it wrong. But yeah, I kind of like alternate horror as well because I think they're good. But to be fair, I mean, a lot of influences and, you know, people that inspire me are other horror film independent filmmakers, you know, that are just trying to create content and just scare people. I think we kind of got a good little band going on as well at the moment. Like everyone's kind of coming together and everyone supports each other.
There is a nice community. I mean,
yeah.
Scott Lyons was saying the same thing. I think a few people that we've had on have said the same things, and that's one of the things that I quite enjoy about the community. I mean, there are some arseholes in there, of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
But there's this nice little group that seems to come together and welcome everybody in. It's like a little family.
Yeah.
And they support each other and they talk nicely about everybody, and like sometimes with some of the guests we've had on, they say, oh, you should chat to so and so, you should meet this person, and you should have this person on because they're great, they make great films. Yeah. And I think that's lovely because you'd expect a filmaker to say, fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody else sucks. My film's the only one that's good.
I think that, you know, just I speak to a lot of independent like filmmakers. Like I speak to Scott, I speak to Andy Stewart a lot, and, you know, it's kind of hearing other people's projects and how they're trying to band together, how they're trying to create, how they're pulling things together on no budgets and everything, you know, it's just great, and it kind of just spurs you along more as well, and you kind of be a part of it. I mean, I AD a lot as well, so I assistant director on a lot of short films, so I'm kind of dabbling much more as well and meeting, you know, like a lot of directors and that through doing that. But yeah, I think people like that inspire me because we're all in it together. We're all just trying to create something horrific.
So what would you say would be the biggest challenge? He wants his room back. He gets really grumpy and just goes absolutely nuts. He was eating magic mushrooms the other night. We said, stay away from the mushrooms, Wally, but he just like lost it big time.
Losing it in the corner.
Yeah, he drank all the milk. It was really embarrassing. And ate all the Jaffa cakes. It was so, Antoine was so pissed off. He was so angry. But what would you say would be the biggest challenges about making your films, about getting your films off the ground?
Biggest challenges. I don't know. I think every stage is a challenge. I think it really depends on the project. I mean, obviously for me with the Keepsake film that never happened, it was money because I just didn't put enough money together for what I wanted to create. But I think every stage is difficult. I actually find writing really easy, which I'm probably not supposed to say, but it just comes. I mean, the feature I wrote in like 3 months, which sounds quite long, but I work full time and I do a lot of other stuff as well. But I find writing quite easy. I think it's just pre-production, pulling everybody together, and because, I mean, I've only ever had a producer on Mindless, not on any of the others, and I think that's probably for me the most stressful thing, is being an independent filmmaker. I mean, it's pros and cons. Because you're an independent filmmaker, you can do what the fuck you like. But am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
Everybody else does.
All right. Okay. But yeah, you can do what the fuck you like, and then but at the same time, you're doing it all off your own back, and especially with independent filmmaking, you know, for me, you're the only one that really cares. You're the only one that's really got to pull it together and prove something, you know, whereas, you know, once you get higher up the ladder, you know, you get other people much more interested in like investing and stuff. So it's all or nothing and it all lies on you. And I think it's everything really. It's pulling it all together. I don't think there's one kind of factor or one element that's harder than the other.
Did you find it a lot easier having a producer?
Yes.
On board? That took a lot of stress.
Yeah, because I was just doing everything, you know, from casting to storyboarding to sorting out, you know, all all the different elements, all the actors, just sorting out the catering on set. It was just, I would do everything. But even for Mindless, actually, we only had a crew of 8. But yeah, she pulled everything together for me, and now we're peas in a pod, like never, she's never leaving my side.
She's stuck now, she's stuck.
Yeah, but no, it was great to have that and just really focus on the creative side, because before I was just running around and doing everything. I mean, the paper round there was a crew of 3.
Yeah,
which is nothing. Yeah. So we're just like, everyone's just running around doing everything. But it's great, you know. At the end of the day, you do it because you love it, you know, and you get the job done basically. And I think, you know, you're just focusing.
Wonderful little film at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to put the hard work in. I think, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine actually that it gets any easier if you do become like a big time, you know, because you're like, it's like 300 people staring at me right now expecting me to direct. Maybe I wouldn't like that. Maybe I'll just keep it really small. Nobody look at me. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, you love it, and it's for me, it's never from project to project, you know, it's a lifestyle, it's what I want to do, regardless if I, you know, make something out of it or I don't, I will always be making films, so.
Well, you're doing a good job of it so far.
Living the dream.
Put some questions out to the crew. Ivan, you got a question?
I always have a question. I was just wondering, what inspires you outside of filmmaking, like the works of art? Because again, you got inspired by the milk round, or the paper round, I should say, and everything else.
I didn't do a milk round, but I like the idea. There could be something in there.
There we go. But no, like, say for music or just artwork that you view, like, has anything ever inspired you to want to make a film, or you're thinking of maybe in 2017?
Maybe 16, who knows. Yeah, I mean, maybe more literature. I read a lot. I read a lot of poetry as well, actually. But yeah, literature definitely. And I think the most relevant thing that I could kind of draw out of what the feature kind of leans towards is that I read a lot of Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
I love his work a lot. I think he's amazing. Yeah, and I read a lot, and there's quite a lot of dark poetry out there. I like H.P. Lovecraft and M.R. James and all those kind of short stories. I try and read them a lot, and kind of how they create atmosphere through their literature and what they bring together. I don't know, with music, probably like subconsciously, I think things come out from that. But yeah, I don't know. Is that?
That's a good answer.
Okay.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
And Antoine?
Yeah, just a quick question about lighting and how do you, because you had some experience on camera, did you have a signature on your lighting or the way you film or the angle or some previous movies you try to?
I try and light as naturally as possible, because of the social realism aspect. I want it to be as natural as possible. So I'm actually quite strict on lighting and colours. I try not to pull out to anything too stylistic or anything that's kind of deviate from the story or the characters. So I try and actually keep it as natural as possible. But I think the great thing with the feature will be that I can do that and then have the contrast of the social realism, very, very natural, very not bland, but just, you know, realistic in its element, and have this massive comparison as a fantasy horror, which is just going to be mental and very, very coloured and lit and everything. So
wow,
I think, yeah, that's kind of what I'm heading towards. But yeah, usually kind of as natural as possible, because I want audiences to feel like they're sitting next to the character, not in front of them, you know, at a film screening.
Nice, thank you. Great answer.
Yeah. We've kind of gone for a social realism, fantasy mesh.
Oh yes, look! Did you know I was coming?
Yeah.
How did you know there were swans in it? I'm like, they're not.
We just knew. It was weird. I mean, like, you mentioned Neil Gaiman there. I can actually see more of a Neil Gaiman influence in your work than, say, John Carpenter or Wes Craven.
Yeah.
And a lot of people mention Carpenter. I think he's been a big influence on a lot of people, and probably not just horror filmmakers, but probably just filmmakers in general.
Yeah.
He was such a clever filmmaker when he was just starting out. He was incredible. But I can definitely see Neil Gaiman, that kind of...
Yeah, I mean, his alternative fantasy horror, I think that's... Because American Gods is being adapted into
Right, yeah.
I don't know if it's a TV show or a film.
I thought it was TV.
But I think, and Preacher as well, so I kind of feel like alternative fantasy horror is going to be big. So
and it's big channels in America as well.
Yeah,
so a lot of money being pumped into them.
Because I think, you know, there's kind of a gap for fantasy horror, I think, because there is a lot of, you know, kind of standard subgenres of horror films, but I think that it just opens up a whole new channel, a whole new different kind of characters. I mean, the characters in my feature, they're all completely crazy, and they are kind of caricatures. I kind of like that word. No, I'm not going to bother. But they're all separate characters in their own way, and they all have their own mannerisms and everything, and they are set pieces, a bit like Pan's Labyrinth. You know, they are all very different to anything you've ever seen before. So
that's a great film, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's a very good
so
film,
good.
actor.
Yeah. Hate him. No, I'm joking.
But Pan's Labyrinth, it was one of those films you're sitting there watching it, think, God, that's amazing. I mean, and the thing is, if you split that into two separate films, it'd still be two amazing films.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's what works with it as well, because it has such a dual element going on the whole time. You know, there's massive conflict in the Civil War that's happening, and then obviously the fantasy world. And I like it because you just don't know if it actually happened
and
or not.
You want it to be real,
yeah,
right?
you want it so much.
Happen.
Please be real, yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, it's a fantastic film, and yeah, I mean, probably would say that the feature's pretty close to that, but mine's very obviously English social realism, so hopefully that'll bring a good element to
Mike Lee and
yeah.
I think
that's the plan.
Well, we can't wait. And when do you hope to make that?
Well, we're constrained on Norway because it gets so cold in Norway after September. So I think we might be pushing it for this year. So next year is the plan. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Well, I think I don't see any.
I'll make it even if I have to like take a DSLR and take it into a wood. I'll be making that film regardless. Don't you worry.
It's such beautiful.
But hopefully it'll be on a bigger budget and everything. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I really hope that comes off for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd love
Me
to see it. I'd love to see it because I've really, like I said, I've really enjoyed the films that I've seen of yours. I think you're a very talented woman.
Thank
which
you.
Is horrible when you get really talented people, isn't it?
Oh, I hate that.
No, it's really nice. It's really great when you meet them. When you meet people, and I think that's one of the great pleasures of the show. I think for all of us, is that we get to meet so much talent, and people are actually really nice and not.
I'm good. I'm glad I'm really nice.
You're not at all like I heard. It's just horrible.
I can be mean.
But I think we're actually running out of time. What, are we running low again? See, just time just drifts away.
Keep chattering.
Yeah, I don't talk much at all. It's obviously just you lot
just
coming
me,
in,
yeah.
twittering away, telling us all about yourselves and how brilliant you are. But thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for having me.
I know she travelled in really far as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's great to finally meet you after all this time.
Absolutely. Thank you
and
so much.
I look forward to seeing what you come up with next.
Yeah, no worries.
Katie Bonham.
Woo!